Hey everybody, welcome back around to the Blog and Grill. I'm your host Doug here with your video blog for August 6th, 2014. Have a great blog once again planned for you today. We're having a New York sports update as the Knicks make a move. NFL two-a-days with the Bengals and the Ravens. I'm going to give you three things to look for in preseason week one, as we'll see some preseason action tomorrow night. And we'll also get into the steroid scandal. First though, I got to give a shout out to my man DJ Warden, a long-time blog viewer for sure. He loves watching the blog. He said he enjoys it a lot. I'm glad he watches it. Just giving a shout out to him. Me and him are going to be getting together here pretty quick and heading on out to Darien Lake in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So just a shout out to a guy that watches the blog a lot, likes the blog, and really enjoys it. DJ, you're the man. Thanks for tuning in to Doug's Sports Blog and Grill. Alright, let's get to some Major League Baseball stuff. Of course, yesterday the big news out of Major League Baseball was the DEA arresting 10 guys, including Tony Bosch, head of the BioGenesis clinic, Yuri Sukrat, which is Alex Rodriguez's cousin, and also the Miami pitching coach, in connection with the BioGenesis steroid scandal. It was a big move by the DEA, kind of out of nowhere it came down, and now they're saying they have another 85 names on a list that are ready to be released at any point. None, though, that pale in comparison to Alex Rodriguez. So what does this mean for Major League Baseball? It's not a bad thing for Major League Baseball at this point. We know steroids are in the sport. Still probably people are using steroids, even though we've seen offensive numbers drop. There's still steroids in the sport. People use them. And the big thing is this could affect playoff races if these names are released within the next couple of weeks, and we get guys suspended if they come off a big-time team. If we see a guy from Baltimore, we see a guy from Oakland, we see a guy from LA come out of this in a suspension, that could be big for Major League Baseball and big for playoff races. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. And the other question I think people are asking today is, does this mean the steroid era will end? And just going off past experiences, I don't think it's to the end yet. There's always going to be a couple more skeevy guys out there giving steroids to Major League Baseball players, and that is why this era will not end quite yet. We'll have a lot more on this as we get more information. We'll also talk suspensions if players are named. Alright, time for our first of two NFL two-a-days. It is time for the Baltimore Ravens. Last year the Ravens were 8-8, missed the playoffs just a year after winning that Super Bowl. Their defense was very solid, but they had a very pedestrian run game. Their draft was very good. I'm going to give their draft a B+. They got some very good defensive line and secondary players, but not enough skill players to get themselves an A rating. Key additions, not many. They bring in Gary Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, the former coach of the Texans. They also bring in wide receiver Steve Smith, who can really take the top off the defense, and they re-sign outside linebacker Terrell Suggs. Key departures, not many as well. These two teams today that we're talking about, the Ravens and the Bengals, really stayed with pretty much the same nucleus that they've used before. Rolando McClain was traded to the Cowboys, and Vontae Leach was not re-signed as well at the fullback position. I think the big question is, can Ray Rice have a better impact this year? Aside from all his issues he's had off the field, last year he just did not perform at a very high level, kind of banged up for some of the year. We'll see if Ray Rice can come back and re-solidify himself as a top 5 running back in the NFL. Ultimately, I think they're going to be similar to where they were last year in a tough division. I see this team winning 9 games this year and finishing at 9-7. Alright, let's go to some preseason action. Preseason week 1 will be this Thursday. That will be tomorrow night. We got a whole full slate of preseason games. The three things I'm really going to be watching for: first, the preseason action. You're always watching those rookie quarterbacks. We're going to see how Blake Bortles, Johnny Manziel, Derek Carr, and Teddy Bridgewater really perform in these games. And if any of these rookies outside of those guys really make an impact, I'm going to be interested to see what Jimmy Garoppolo does in New England. The other thing I'm going to be looking at is with Peyton Hillis getting hurt, David Wilson possibly ending his career. I'm going to be looking at Andre Williams of the New York Giants to see if this guy can run the football and show that he should be the number 1 back going into the regular season. And finally, we have a Super Bowl rematch. It's not going to be much. We're not going to see much of Manning and Wilson, but a Super Bowl rematch is what it is, and we'll definitely have to be checking out the Seahawks and the Broncos. Okay, your second NFL two-a-day today, the Cincinnati Bengals, who were finished last year at 11-5, lost to the Chargers in a wild card round. For their third consecutive year, they go out in the first round of the playoffs. This is my team, of course. A top 5 defense and a top 10 passing attack. Still need to continue to work on that run game, but I loved their first 2 picks of the draft. They got Darqueze Dennard, the cornerback out of Michigan State, and the running back Jeremy Hill out of LSU. Also picked up some interesting wide receivers and quarterbacks in the late rounds. So I'm giving their draft an A-. Key additions, Danny Manning at safety and offensive coordinator Hugh Jackson, who's really going to focus on running the ball more. Jay Gruden left to go coach the Redskins. Key departures, the release of linebacker James Harrison. They got younger at the linebacker position, and James Harrison was, of course, the odd man out. I think the big question for the Bengals this year is, can Andy Dalton live up to his big 6-year extension? He's shown that he can play very well in the regular season. He's got to start to play better in the postseason. I think he will. I think this team could go to an AFC title game, and I'm going to give them a final standing of 10-6 in the tough AFC North. All right, time for your New York sports update. Michael Pineda of the Yankees could return next Wednesday when the Yankees head to Baltimore. The Yankees are at home tonight, just 1 game back of Toronto for the second wild card. The first pitch will be tonight around 7:05. Justin Verlander, 10-9 with a 4.66 versus Chris Capuano, who is 1-2 with a 4.50. Mets are down in Washington for their second of 3 there. They won last night 6-1. Jonathan Neese will be on the mound tonight for the Mets 5-7 with a 3.24 versus Doug Fister, who's quietly put together a very good year at 10-3 with a 2.68. And just before I came on here, the New York Knicks have made a trade. They trade Jeremy Tyler and Wayne Ellington to the Kings for Travis Outlaw and Quincy Acey, getting a couple more guys that can create their own shot. All right, we'll be back on Friday. We'll talk a little PGA Championship. We'll head to the Steelers and the Browns, and we'll give you a New York sports update as well. We'll talk a little preseason action as well. Always remember now to check me out on sportsmindednews.com. That is James Williams, JHW Reporter on Twitter. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at YankeeBaller415. Comment, question, subscribe to my page. Thanks for tuning in to the Blog and Grill. I will be back on Friday. Have a good rest of the week.